Hi guys, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Bailey. I make videos about lifestyle like baking, traveling, faith, photography, etc. I would love for you to subscribe if you're not already so you can follow along for more videos like this. Today I'm going to be giving you guys 10 tips to help you prepare for shooting your first ever wedding. So if you don't already know, if you haven't watched my videos before, I'm a full-time wedding photographer. I shot my first wedding just over 4 years ago, and I've been full-time for about 2 years, I would say. And these are tips that I wish that people had told me before I started. I really just had to learn from my mistakes and then get better the next wedding, and I feel like I'm still learning so much. There's not really a set way that people do things because most of the time wedding photography is self-taught. So I'm hoping that these are 10 things that can help you better prepare for shooting your first wedding. Number one is to make sure that you have at least one backup battery. Your battery is going to wear down throughout the day, of course, because that's just the nature of batteries, but also just being a wedding photographer, you're shooting constantly and you're gonna need to have at least one backup. So that way you can always have one charging. What I do, I have a few backup batteries. I also have 2 cameras, and so I always just have at least one of my batteries charging wherever I can find an outlet. That way I always have one that I can swap to if I need. Tip number 2 is to make sure that you have a contract with your clients. I know this can seem like a daunting task, especially if you don't have a contract already in place, you don't really know where to start, but there's a guy on YouTube, I think his name is Eric Floberg, and I'll link his video down below. He recently posted a video where he talks about wedding contracts, and he basically gives you permission to copy what his says, and he goes in depth. I think it's like a module from one of his online courses, and he just put it on YouTube for free, so I'll link that below. It's a good starting place for creating your contract, but you just want to make sure that you are protected. For example, the number of hours that you're supposed to be there and the start time and the end time. You also want to make sure a meal is provided for you. That's another important one. I think in my contract I put that a meal has to be provided for 6 or more hours, and if it's not, then I'm allowed to leave for 45 minutes to get something. Another important thing to include in your contract is your delivery turnaround times, your gallery turnaround time. So that just depends from photographer to photographer, but that way you have a set time of when you're supposed to deliver the gallery and your clients know when they can expect their photos. But there's a lot of things that should be included in a contract that will protect you as an individual and protect your business, so that's super important. Definitely check out Eric Floberg's video if you need advice and need help on creating a contract. Tip number 3 is to have a family photos combination list. What I've recently started doing that has been working really well, it only works if your clients have an iPhone, but the new, or maybe it's not the newest iOS update, but one of the newer ones created the shared notes. So basically it's kind of like a Google Doc. I don't think it's as much in real time, but I actually haven't tried that, but it's with iCloud notes. And so basically I have 2 blank family photo combination lists. I'll pull it up so you guys can see, but I have one that's with the first look, because with the first look we would be able to do more combined family photos before the ceremony, and then I have one that's without a first look, and so it just has a different organization of the combinations. So this is the one with the first look, and you can see we have the pre-ceremony and then the post-ceremony. Basically this is just to make it super easy to go through family photos. You know exactly the ones that you're taking, and it's easy, it's simple. And what I have my clients do is I'll share this with my brides, and then they will edit it and they'll just delete the names that are already in there. For example, this one says groom, grandpa, and they'll replace it with the people's first name. So instead of groom, grandpa, it would say whatever the groom's name is, whatever the grandpa's name is. So that way I can just call out the names. It's super easy. I remember the first wedding that I shot, I didn't even know that this was a thing. I didn't even think about it, and family photos were very hectic. So this really would have made my job a lot easier. And if your client doesn't have an iPhone, you could always create the same kind of document, but just create it on Google Docs and share it with them. That way they'll be able to fill it out, and then you can still see it and pull it up on your phone on the wedding day. Tip number 4 is to write down a list of shots that you think you might forget. I feel like I don't ever have this problem anymore just because I'm so used to shooting weddings and I've shot so many. But when I was first starting out, I remember I was just always so nervous that there was something that I was going to forget on the wedding day. And it's totally fine to just write down a list of everything that you want to make sure you get shots of. And it's totally fine to refer to that list throughout the day. So if you're scared that you won't remember a certain pose that you wanted to do or a certain prompt that you wanted to do with your couple, just write it down. And no one's going to think anything of it if you just pull out your phone during their portrait and say, there was this pose I really wanted to make sure we got, let me check and see what it was. And if you have a big list, that's fine. I feel like that's something that it might make you feel a little insecure having, but just trust me that no one is going to think anything of it. In the long run, you're going to be grateful that you did that so you don't end up forgetting anything. Tip number 5 is to take more photos than you think you need to. It really depends, honestly, like wedding to wedding, how many photos I deliver in a wedding gallery. It usually ends up being around 80 to 120 photos per hour, and of course that averages to 100 photos per hour, but it really just depends on the wedding because I've had 8-hour weddings where I deliver 1,200 photos. So it just depends on the couple, how much time they allot for photos throughout the day, how many details they have to take pictures of, how much time they want for bride and groom portraits, etc. But when I first started shooting weddings, I would find that my galleries just weren't very expansive, and now I'm delivering like 2 or 3 times the amount of photos that I delivered when I first started. So you just want to make sure you have plenty of photos to choose from when you're going through and culling the gallery. So this isn't a tip that is included in my 10 tips, but along with the taking more photos than you think you need to, I'm also just going to add in that you want to make sure you have plenty of memory cards, and you want to make sure that your memory cards are plenty fast enough. So I'll grab one of mine real quick and show you guys what memory cards I use. I do have some compact flash cards, which are the larger cards that I double shoot on with my Canon 5D Mark IV. Also, this is how I organize my memory cards, literally in this is for fishing lure, and I just got it from Amazon, and then I like cut up notebook paper, and I just keep the memory cards with the files on them until I deliver the gallery. So this is the type of memory card that I use, and it is 170 megabits per second, and these are super good. They're really fast, and they are great for weddings because you're going to want to be shooting, put this back, but you're going to want to be shooting quickly, and you don't want to miss these moments like the first kiss, then walking down the aisle. There's going to be lots of movement and stuff, and you just want to make sure that your camera's fast enough. So that's just a little extra tip in there to make sure you have fast enough memory cards. Tip number 6 is to bring food and water with you. So something that happens to me every single wedding is I forget to drink water, and then I'm so thirsty because of talking so much. You're going to be talking so much throughout the day, and so you're going to need to make sure you have plenty of water with you because your throat is going to dry out. That's what happens to me every time. And then I'll finally get my water bottle and down almost the whole thing. And so you want to make sure you have water with you, even backup water if you can. Also, I would recommend bringing a snack or two. Typically, my ceremonies are like around 4:30, 5:30, depending on the time of year, of course. But if the ceremony is around those times, then I will usually take out a snack, just like a granola bar, Go Macro bar, protein bar, whatever, and just eat it real quick before the ceremony, so that way I'm feeling good and energized until I finally get to eat during the reception. I don't know what it is about a wedding day, because on just like regular weekdays I don't usually need a snack between lunch and dinner, but I don't know, I just get so hungry and I get really worn down and exhausted easily, and so I always make sure to bring a snack and a water. Tip number 7 is to shoot in RAW. So if you don't already shoot in RAW, or if you don't know what that is, it's basically the type of file that your camera is shooting in. The primary difference between a JPEG and a RAW file is a RAW file is a lot larger of a file than a JPEG, but this is because it's technically an uncompressed file, so that means that it kind of has like all of its original detail in the file still there, so you can manipulate it a lot more, change a lot more things, and it looks natural and better than if you were to try to do the same things to a JPEG image. When a JPEG image is taken, it is compressed, which means that it loses that original detail. It's kind of more of like a complete photo, and you can't really change it very much as you could a raw file. If you're interested, I would definitely recommend Googling it to read more about the difference between the two, and I'm sure there are some YouTube videos on it as well, but that should be the first thing that you do when you get to the wedding. Make sure that your camera is in RAW. Tip number 8 is to make sure you get photos of all of the details and decor. By details, I mean pictures of the full venue from the outside. If there's multiple venues or multiple buildings at that venue, make sure to get, full images of those if you get the chance to. Make sure to get all of the table decor and the little tables at the reception. After having been a bride, I realized how much time you spend on the details. Honestly, the details might be the things that take the most time, and also because they take so much time, they're just so special. Like at my wedding, I just loved our table displays and all of the little tables off to the side, like the one that had our guest book, the little donut wall that we had, etc. And it was just really important to me to get photos of all those things because I spent so much time on it. I thought they were beautiful. When you're doing this, just overshoot. Get tons of angles, get wide angles, get close up, get details of every single little thing. Like I said, take more photos than you think you need to, because these photos are going to be really special to the bride, and it might not seem like it, especially if you've never planned a wedding yourself. You might not understand, but just trust me that these photos are going to be so important, and they will appreciate them so much, because every single thing that you see at a wedding was planned, it was thought out, and it was paid for, and time was spent on it. And so you just want to make sure that you capture those moments, because other than like decor pieces that you can use for your house and like drying out your flowers, pretty much photos and videos is the only thing that you take forward from your wedding day. So make sure to get those detail shots. Tip number 9 is to create your own timeline for the wedding day. I will put an example timeline here of a wedding that I did recently, and you can see what it looks like, just a typical 8-hour wedding day. This really helps with making sure that people know where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be there, when they're supposed to be dressed, when you're doing certain things, etc. Most of the time I'm communicating with the coordinator if the bride has one. I'm also communicating with the hair and makeup team to make sure that the girls start in time to be ready by the time that I need them to be ready. And also, it's really important because you have to have a specific time to get there and a specific time to leave, and you want to make sure that you have plenty of time within that timeline to get all the photos that the bride wants. So my 10th and final tip is to pay attention to the details. So when I say the details here, I mean the little things like the background, little pieces of hair, if there's like a little hair going across the bride's face, if the groom has stuff like lint on his suit, etc. You want to make sure you pay attention to all of that, because if you're like me, it is so much easier to fix it in the moment than it is to edit it out. Something that I started doing was I started carrying a lint roller with me, so that way I can just lint roll away any fuzz, so that way I don't have to edit it out of every single photo. If there's something in the background, I'll either move it if I'm able, or just change the position of the people that I'm taking the photo of. Basically, this tip is just to make it easier on you when you're editing the photos, because you want to make sure that you have attention to detail. That is truly what can set you apart from other photographers, is just spending adequate time on your photos, providing a gallery that shows lots of attention to detail, just getting rid of those little distractions. And what I've found just makes my job so much easier is getting rid of those distractions in the moment, rather than going back and trying to get rid of them after the fact, because that can just take so much longer, and ultimately following this tip just saves you time on the back end. So those are all of my wedding photography tips. I hope that they're helpful, and if you are planning to shoot your first wedding soon, good luck. I know you're going to be great. Wedding photography is truly such a fun job. It is so rewarding. I love what I do. I'm so grateful for every single wedding that I'm able to be a part of, and I just love it so much. And so if you are getting to do that, I think that's amazing. You're going to do so well, and I just want to encourage you that your wedding's going to go great. You may be nervous, but just be confident in yourself. Be confident in your skills. The couple would not have chosen you to shoot their wedding if they didn't believe you would do a good job. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I would love for you to give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Go ahead and subscribe for more videos like this, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye.